Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, January 26th, 2025. Ding dong, the witch is dead. She's dead, not dead. Dead, not dead. I don't care if there is a body and there was plenty of wait time. I don't care. Dead, not dead. I don't care if no one ever could have possibly survived. Jordan survived. And wow, wasn't it entertaining? I have an idea for your next family game night. Why don't you just sit there and watch someone die? Man, that's cruel. Even to your worst enemy, that's cruel. The Newman family was like, let's all just sit here and watch her die. Right on Victoria's living room couch. On the couch, I mean, are you ever going to be able to sit on that couch again? That's all I could think. I'll never be able to sit on that couch again. I'll never be able to unsee that Jordan died on that couch. And a new running gag is born. I mean, they could not have been more nonchalant about it. Victor literally checked his watch as Jordan was dying to see how much longer this was gonna take. Did you see that? It was so subtle, but thank goodness that moment was in there. Victor's like, I don't got time for this. I got someplace to be. Oh. Honestly, I felt like Nikki barely moved. She just stood there like a statue. Nick had to peace out to go take care of his part of the story. Victoria definitely had some decent moments, decent lines protecting her daughter. But, I mean, this was Claire's week. This was Claire's time to shine. Right? Because I think 2 weeks ago, we were all complaining. Well, most of us were complaining that Claire was just way too sweet. But this week, she was cold. Cold as a Wisconsin winter. With sleeveless dresses on. Cold and calculating. I mean, I don't even know how she went from mousy to murdery in the span of 2 weeks. She really was able to flip that switch. And honestly, I found it very hard to believe that Nikki and Victoria would just go right along and follow Claire's lead. Let Claire be the one in charge. I mean, at the very least, I feel like Nikki would have insisted on telling her super powerful, super protective husband what was going on, but she didn't. It's a good thing he was lurking around the corners. It's a good thing Lurch was lurking around the corners, very suspicious of the ladies' behavior, and apparently he's going to be really ticked off at them next week, if the previews are any clue about it. But, yeah, I feel like Victoria probably had the most believable reaction to it all, because Victoria was sort of appalled, as I was sort of appalled, at how Claire was acting this way. Like, Claire had explained it by saying, well, it's a sign of my upbringing. You know, I was brought up to not ask for help. I was brought up to take matters into my own hands the crazy way. Why not beat the villain by becoming the villain? And look, I can't deny that Claire did a beautiful job of becoming the villain to the villain. Claire told Jordan that together they are going to kill her real mother, kill Victoria, claim her Newman inheritance, and then just ride off into the sunset. Crazy plan. Well, it was a crazy plan that was music to Jordan's ears. The scenes with Jordan and Claire rebonding, even though it was fake, but rebonding, honestly, those were the most powerful parts of the week for me. Claire feeding Jordan her own strategies back to her, and then Jordan suddenly being in this position of weakness, of needing someone. Chance and Nick went back to the motel room to question Ian about his accomplice trying to find Sharon. And what they found in the hotel room was Jordan's fingerprints all over the place. P.S. GCPD has really stepped up their game during this investigation. No one can deny. Last week, they actually got their hands on some security cam footage. And then this week, they have apparently digital fingerprint technology. Digital! I mean, that sounds fancy. Chance didn't even have to send anything off to the lab. He was able to digitize the lifted fingerprint and then, I guess, scan it on his smart device, and then he just got the results back by email, all while he and Nick were just standing there in the hotel room. And then, I mean, get this, then the prison that Jordan was supposed to be at was able to then just cross-reference the woman who was pretending to be Jordan in her cell with a picture of real Jordan, and they sent the picture of the real woman to Chance right to his phone, direct from prison at hotmail.com. And then Chance and his junior detective, Nicholas Newman, were able to get that information. That was nifty. I felt like that was a real step up. Well, Chance and Nick then told Victor that Jordan was loose and everybody got caught up to speed. And that put Jordan at a disadvantage. She was really kind of on the ropes at that point. And Claire was able to really beautifully use that to her advantage. Because when Jordan accused Claire of tipping off the cops, like, oh, did you send the cops to my hotel room? Claire was able to just turn the whole thing right around, and she actually accused Jordan of being weak and being off her game. I was impressed. Claire really flipped the power tables there, because suddenly Jordan was on the defensive and Claire was on the offensive. Suddenly Jordan was like a warm creamer melting in a cup of poison tea. It was so perfect. But here's the thing, and I don't know about you, but honestly, the weaker and more melty and more submissive that Jordan became, the more I really started becoming interested in the character. I really started wanting to connect with the character. I know, that is so typical of me. Ooh, the underdog? But it's true. I mean, Jordan has been a larger-than-life dragon for all of these months. But then looking at her, looking at Claire, with those big brown watery eyes, suddenly she was a human for once. Colleen Zank is just so damn good. I mean, she really nailed this role from start to finish, even though I don't believe it's finished. I never will. I mean, but she has done, whether you like this over-the-top villainry or not, clearly she has done everything that Y&R asked her to do and more. And now suddenly, this week, the tables were just flipped. Suddenly Claire became the dragon, luring poor Jordan to her death. It was pretty brilliant, really. Claire tells Jordan, well, since you can't go back to the hotel room, why don't you come and stay at Victoria's house? I know. We'll hide you in plain sight. The Newmans will never see it coming. I mean, I know Jordan probably should have known better, but it's so her style. This is the woman who was creeping around, hiding in the vents of the lake house, remember? So she was like, yeah, all right. She went right along with it. Yeah, sure, sounds ridiculous. I'm in. So when they got to the tack house, Claire poured Jordan a cup of tea. Who'd have thought that cup of tea, that agave, the cup of tea with the oolong tea with agave sweetener. Who'd have thought that'd become such a thing? Such a detail. But so Claire makes Jordan this cup of tea to get her nice and comfortable, and then Claire begins her not so subtle interrogation, asking Jordan pretty much everything about her partner, who she was working with, and Jordan actually had already guessed that it was Ian Ward. I love the moment when Jordan goes, wow, your instincts are spot on. Like, she was just so impressed. I thought that was a fun moment. And Jordan and Claire did talk about Ian and his plan to reestablish a relationship with Mariah, which is nothing like Jordan's plan to reestablish a relationship with Claire, because Claire actually wants and misses her Aunt Jordan. But everything was actually going pretty well for Claire until Claire started to press Jordan for information about, well, Heather and Sharon. Jordan told Claire that Ian was the one who killed Heather, which is a lie, right? She's lying, right? Everybody now thinks that Ian is the one who killed Heather, but it was Jordan. I don't know if Ian's going to turn right around and accuse Jordan, and then it's going to be a he said, she said kind of thing. I don't know. But Jordan did admit that she is holding Sharon hostage as an insurance policy against Ian and anyone else. And then just as Jordan was getting ready to take a sip of that tea that Claire made her, Claire shouted out, "Stop!" Cliffhanger. That's kind of suspicious, though, Jordan says. I'm suspicious. It's almost like you didn't want me to drink this tea. It's almost like this tea is poisoned. But Claire was not just going to let Jordan die without revealing Sharon's location. And that's actually what ended up tipping Jordan off, was the fact that Claire, it's just too unbelievable that Claire would be so cold and so calculating and then care so much about Sharon Newman, someone who she barely knows. So the jig was up. Jordan was about to bust out of there, and then Nikki and Victoria came down the stairs looking pretty calm. Nikki and Victoria were both pretty calm the whole time, as if this was just completely normal. But they also were looking pretty self-satisfied, as if, you know, they caught the villain. And Jordan was like, oh, okay, I see. Well, Claire, you really are a Newman, aren't you? Going along with their little plan. And I loved the moment where Claire got real close up on Jordan right in her face and said, "Nah, it was actually my plan. Ha 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 ha." And then Victor showed up with Nick, and Claire told everybody that Jordan was holding Sharon hostage. And Jordan was just about to negotiate herself a deal, a get out of town free deal with the rich and handsome Victor Newman. I couldn't resist that moment of Jordan calling Victor handsome. I liked that a lot. That was fun. I wonder if it was scripted or if that was just a little something that came out. I don't know, because it's just like, oh, even in death, Jordan was like, well, he is very attractive. I sort of see what my sister saw in him. But anyway, Jordan was just about to negotiate herself the ultimate escape, and Nick got a phone call from Mariah saying that Sharon has been found at the lookout point, cold and shivering and sitting alone on the park bench. And then it was like, uh-oh. Jordan just lost her bargaining chip. She tried to scurry. She tried to say that she would help the Newmans catch Ian Ward. But Victor said, "We don't need you for that. We don't need you." So, realizing that she had nothing left, Jordan turns around, makes a mad dash for the teacup of death, and then just gulps it down. The whole next episode was just Jordan stammering around the living room like she was Fred Sanford saying, "Oh, Elizabeth, I think this is the big one. I'm coming to join you." It was fun. I mean, again, to say that Colleen Zank was incredible is almost just too obvious. So I'm going to skip it. It is implied that she was brilliant. So I'll just skip to the interesting part, which was Jordan's exact moment of death. So, as Jordan drew in her final breaths, she looked at Claire and she said, "I'm going to miss you. And you're going to miss me too." And then she reached out for Claire's hand, but she couldn't quite reach Claire. Claire was just far enough away. But in the moment that Jordan bit the big one, Claire chose to bridge the gap. And she grabbed Jordan's hand. Jordan and Claire were holding hands when Jordan died. Claire, who has said, "I will never feel regret for this. I am steely. This is what I must do." At the very last second, Claire gave in. And in a way, Claire and Jordan were sort of united in that moment. Together again, just as Jordan had wanted. I mean, Claire didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. She either wanted to, or it was her instinct, the goodness in her, not wanting someone to have to die a horrible death alone. I don't know which it is, but I do wonder if it is actually kind of signaling a turning point for her character. Because how do you just go back to normal after you just lured a woman to her death and after you just sat there and watched her die? I mean, Jordan predicted it, and I think that she will deliver it from beyond the grave. Jordan, she may be gone for now. She may be gone from this world for now, but I just have a feeling that she is going to be haunting Claire from beyond the grave. Next week, it sounds like the Newman plan is to tell the cops that the crazy lady broke out of prison, came down to the tack house, and then poisoned herself? Yeah, I'm sure Chance is going to believe that. I mean, Victor made sure to reassure Chance that, no, there's no more going rogue. Oh, no, Victor Newman is by the book, of course. So, yeah, that's going to be real believable. But I don't know, with the two most notorious villains dead, who's even going to care? Who's even going to care how they died? Wow. So next week in the previews, Tessa and Arya are missing and Ian's got a gun. He's coming into the Newman Ranch saying, Nikki, come here. I don't want you to miss what I'm about to do to your family. So that's going to be good. I mean, it seems pretty written in stone, though, that Mariah is going to be the one to take him out, right? When Mariah brought Sharon home, Nick told Sharon and Mariah and Faith that the one who kidnapped Sharon was Jordan. And just side note, Sharon told Nick that he was the one to rescue her, sorta. I just want to take a little minute to say that I think we were all pretty much anticipating that real live Nick would be the one to rescue Sharon. But in the end, it was Glow by Chabot Nick who did the job. But it was only in Sharon's mind. In the end, the truth is, Sharon rescued herself. I mean, whatever her motivation was, the vision of Nick, promises, whatever encouragement he was giving her in her own head, doesn't matter. She saved herself. But now Mariah is feeling incredibly guilty because Jordan only kidnapped Sharon because Ian told her to, because he wanted to get Sharon out of the way so that he could get closer to Mariah. So in Mariah's mind, all of this leads back to her, including Heather's death too. Boy, isn't Tessa gonna feel silly next week. If Tessa had a theme song for the week, it would be Sympathy for the Devil by the Rolling Stones, clearly. Oh, so please allow me to introduce myself. Ian showed back up at Society this week, despite the fact that Mariah warned him to stay away by saying that she would kill him if he ever came back. But Ian then proceeded to try to convince Tessa that he had changed, that he regrets all of the things that he did to Mariah, that he wants desperately to have her forgiveness and to have another chance. And of course, Mariah showed up in the middle of it and again threatens Ian to leave. And this time, I mean, I really feel like Ray Wise brought it up a notch because he had the most hangdog, pitiful, but perfectly sympathetic performance ever. Tessa could not resist. Tessa told Mariah that she felt that Ian was being sincere. And Mariah could not believe her ears. With everything that Mariah has said about this evil man that did these terrible things to her, Mariah is thinking, how could Tessa waste even one breath trying to defend him? And I feel like this was maybe the first time since Mariah and Tessa have been officially together, certainly married. This is the first time that I can remember them ever having this big of a fight. This is the first time I can ever remember Mariah being this mad at Tessa. And Mariah's perspective on it all is so easy to understand. I mean, we're the audience. We have omniscience. We know for a fact that Ian Ward is full of it. We've seen him. He drugged Tessa. He framed Sharon, and then he planned to have Sharon murdered. But Tessa is not omniscient. Tessa is not privy to any of that information. All Tessa sees is this man who saved her life and who is now asking for redemption, and it's a redemption that she once wanted so badly. So it would be easy to criticize Tessa, all the way up and down here, saying that she is being uncharacteristically naive. Certainly we know from Tessa's past that she's known some bad people and she's done some bad things. So Tessa should be able to spot a fraud. But we are not dealing with the Tessa who knew bad people and who did bad things. We are dealing with the Tessa who wanted forgiveness, who wanted redemption, and received it. She sees Ian's position as someone who no one believes in, someone who no one believes actually deserves that second chance. And how could Tessa be so calloused when she herself was given the grace of a second chance? I actually really like this a lot. I wish that this story would have been going on a lot longer. I wish that we had had more chances to see Ian and Tessa bonding, aka Ian working Tessa, because I think then it would be a lot more believable that she would be sticking her neck out for him. Because the only thing that I find unbelievable about it is that they've had so few interactions. If the relationship between Ian and Tessa had been a little bit more fully developed, if we had seen them a couple more times, I think it would have made a really much more compelling conflict. But as it is, it was a good conflict for the week. Mariah's ticked off at Tessa for even bringing it up at a time, by the way, when her mother is missing and she's dealing with all of this turmoil. So, to Mariah, I think it seems like Tessa is siding with the enemy. I get it. I get both perspectives. But I don't think that is Tessa's intention by any means. I think that Tessa has good intentions. She just, unfortunately, put those good intentions, towards a very bad man. And it seems like maybe next week she's going to pay the price. In the previews, she and Arya have turned up missing, which I'm guessing is another kidnapping by Ian Ward, which I'm guessing is his final act right before the grand finale. I am such a sucker. Last week I was so fed up with Billy. And then this week, Y&R gave him a cool new house, and I'm back in. It's so predictable of me. Like, ooh, he has a new accessory? I'm in. Well, plus the fact that I really do love Jason Thompson. I think he is just so cool. I mean, he's too cool for how one note Billy has become. I really, really am hoping that this new house is a symbol of a fresh start for him, because I really feel like there's just so much more he can do, so much more that can be done with him. He and Jack actually sat down this week, which was a big deal. It was almost underplayed for how big of a deal it is, considering Billy disowned the entire Abbott family a few weeks ago. And I think Jack actually had a really good reason to be bitter with Billy over that, but he wasn't. Jack was sentimental. Jack was trying to keep the family peace. And he said that he wants to fund a new venture for Billy. I don't know what that is. There was no details given, but it's exciting. I hope it actually materializes, because again, I think there's just so much more that Billy can do. There's so much more to his character. And I really loved the moment when he was walking around at his newly decorated house And he noticed that Sally put out a few of his old trinkets that she had found in a box, like packed away. And just, I don't know, seeing Billy standing there talking about his stuff, his treasures from his past, the sailboats, the brass sailboats that Jack had given to him, the toy car that he played with when he was a child. That really endeared me to him. It gave me a tiny little window into him, even in the time before we would have known him very well. And of course, seeing the photo of Delia did it to me. Well, actually, there was 2 photos of Delia in that house. Number 1 was on the table and it was in color, and then number 2 was in the case and it was the exact same photo, but it was in black and white. But nevertheless, it made me cry. Once again, predictable. But I guess the larger point is that seeing that photo along with the other things, it just really reminded me that Billy is someone who has lost a lot. And I think it's time for him to move forward. I think it's time to christen that house. But not just with sex. No. I'm sure that will happen, and I'm sure I will enjoy it. But we need to christen that new house with a new career and a new purpose, too. Tick-tock. Tick-tock? Who said it? Perfect quote for the week. If you think you know, go to yrchat.com. Reveal that answer and find out. Let's get to some comments now. Connie says, yay, another great set design. Billy's new place is awesome, and the photo of Delia made me cry. I'm glad that he's getting a fresh start, and this brightened the mood for the audience as well. Oh, Connie, yes. Hey, at least now I know I'm not the only one who cried. I mean, I literally did cry. I'm glad to know I wasn't alone. And I agree. I think that this was a mood brightener for the audience as well. Diana says, I love Billy's new place. Yeah, Billy has a home now. Gradually, the characters are getting their homes back, which is awesome. The coffee shop and the restaurant scenes are overdone, as are the characters living in hotels. I'm delighted that Y&R is putting a budget toward sets. I hope we see Nick get his home back. I also found it very cozy, and then maybe we'll see Christian again. I also like the set where Adam and Lily used to live. Maybe we could see Chance live there, or Summer. These new sets are the best thing that Y&R has done to the show and make it much more enjoyable and make the characters' lives feel much more relatable and real. Yeah, Diana, and I'm glad you mentioned Nick's house, because as soon as Billy and Sally walked through that open hallway, I thought, are we at Nick's house? Are we gonna reveal that Billy bought Nick's house? Because it's the same set. It's the bone structure of Nick's old house. So I think that's probably it. It just is redesigned. Russell says, I loved Billy's new place. It's nice and comfortable set. Now if they give Billy something interesting other than revenge to focus on, I'll enjoy the scenes there. I'm glad he's turning the corner, and I'm looking forward to the chatter poll results about Billy. Wow, Russell, your wish is my command. Billy's approval rating is in the dirt. Only 18% approve of him, and it makes complete sense. It has been a rough one, but I think that whatever business venture he is going to be undertaking, whatever his new idea is, I think he's gonna be using that new space as his command center, and so I have hope for it. Marianne V says Billy is too obsessed with taking down Victor. He is ego-driven. Maybe Phyllis can help him see the light, but I doubt it. This is why Billy always loses. He has to be top #1, and he's not capable of doing that. I'm glad you mentioned Phyllis, because it seems like Phyllis and what she said to him actually did help him a bit. He seemed to indicate that, gee, if even Phyllis is telling you you've gone too far, maybe you better listen up. And you never know, maybe it will end up being Daniel and Phyllis and Billy working on some kind of company together. I mean, Billy and Phyllis did work well together. Sue W. says, I'm not sure I approve of what Billy's doing or a lot of what he has done. The summer debacle, ew. Although I can understand he always feels he's in the right even when others don't agree. But I do approve of Billy as a character. Regardless of good, bad choices, I love having the mess that he is in Genoa City. It makes for great stories. Yeah, that it does. He's an interesting, compelling character. There's a lot that can be done with him, and it's time to get on with it. Let's get on with the... Oh! I have a birthday! Ellen! Happy birthday! Your birthday is January 27th. That's tomorrow? Wow! Happy birthday, Ellen! I think maybe for your birthday, you should consider treating yourself to a lovely cup of death tea. That oolong tea with agave sweetener, double the half and half, and a little bit of poison. It's good for building up the immunity, you know? Keeping it all going. Oh, happy birthday, Ellen. I hope you have a really good one. And speaking of the death tea, Connie says, as always, the acting was excellent, but I don't like the murder of Jordan as a family affair. I get soap opera drama, and we love to play along with the fantasy. However, this dark storyline doesn't sit right with me, and I'm not sure why. It was uncomfortable to watch. The good guy, bad guy lines were crossed, and I found it very unsettling. Yeah, you know what? That is, the good guy, bad guy lines were definitely crossed. It was very dark. So instead of watching and having an evening of Netflix or a board game, the Newman family literally sat around and watched someone die. It was dark. Victoria says, this was a great week for Y&R. Colleen Zank gave us Jordan, still evil, but mixed with a twist of humanity. She downplayed the loud drama for quiet drama. Interactions between Claire and Jordan were riveting and compelling. Haley Aaron did a superb job of leaving us guessing at all times. Jordan is right, and if she is really dead, Claire will be haunted by it. Logically, you would want to get rid of a threat to your family, which keeps biting you. However, murder is a step too far. I like your point that Colleen Zhang really, I mean, I think it's the fact that she played it more quietly, that it wasn't as over the top, that really made it more compelling. But the overall premise of the murder was quite dark. And I am wondering this week, Y&R Chatters, if you felt that it was too dark. YRChat.com, that is our poll question for this week. The whole Jordan Death Watch, Death Lure situation, was it too much? Was it not enough, or, you know, was it in the just right range? What's your porridge temperature? Go to yrchat.com to cast your vote. Russell says Nikki and Victor both told Jordan that she was on her way to hell. Victor checked his watch while he watched Jordan fade. I guess he didn't have time for this. I can't believe that they sat and watched her die. This is dark. How can they all, except for Victor, of course, live with themselves after that? Nikki might head straight to her vodka. The police might investigate her death since it was sleeping pills. They should have shot her as an escaped convict trespasser. Chancing the police wouldn't bat an eye. I guess the poison tea spared anyone from directly doing the deed. You know what, Russell? Yeah. Okay, so I guess technically Jordan killed herself. But we all know the intention was there. I don't care. I'm logging it as murder. I'm officially logging it as murder because of the intent, whether or not Jordan picked up the glass on her own. Oh, well, Sharad says Colleen Zank and Jordan was magnificent. I loved every moment of her. Calling Victoria beauty and challenging her to a fight was priceless. Calling Victor handsome, dismissing Nick as a hostage because Nikki as a hostage because been there, done that, and the comment about none of them caring if Sharon died except Nick. That was very telling. And again, I say, she's not wrong about Claire. I believe there's some truth in how she feels about the Newmans. That's why she was so convincing to Jordan. Thursday's episode to me was just, wow. Yeah, you know, I mean, as Victoria said, I think that Claire did a really good job of keeping us guessing, because there was definitely moments where I'm like, she's putting it on for the ruse, right? Or is she? You know, there was definitely moments where I was questioning it. Robin says, well, I take it back about not liking Claire. I like this Claire. I hope they keep her ruthless. Just like Victoria. I hope they keep ruthless Claire just like Victoria. Or do you mean Victor? I don't know. Could be either one. And I like that also Russell mentioned, how can they all live with themselves? Of course, except Victor. He's fine. He's got way bigger things that he's been guilty of, so he's going to be fine. Everybody else, though, they plotted this. T. Nicole says, I'm enjoying seeing Claire have this edge to her, and I hope she brings some of this hard exterior to her character going forward. Claire is a good person with good intentions, but she will be so much more compelling seeing her not as a pushover and someone who can stand her ground to other characters. I would love to see this harder side of Claire towards Summer when she tries to interfere with Claire and Kyle's relationship. Yeah, let's keep elements of this harder Claire. Although Stephen says Detective Claire as an undercover operator has much to be desired. Wear a wire or a GPS tracker. Today on sale at Amazon for $18.35. Consider installing a free app on Claire's phone so that the other two conveners can track and listen to the progress. Instead of monitoring Claire's progress to ensure her safety, Victoria and Nikki imbibe mint and lavender caffeine-free herbal tea while discussing the latest fashion trends as they wait and hope for Claire's return. No need to worry. It's not like someone has ever suddenly disappeared in Genoa City. Yes, they certainly chose the hard way, didn't they, Stephen? There were much more relaxing ways, with a mint and herbal tea instead of a poison oolong tea. Diana says, I don't know how Victoria never once mentioned to Jordan, how dare you burn down my house. Victoria's house burned down, and she hasn't looked back since. Jordan took away so many memories and life valuables that can never be replaced, such as pictures and sentimental keepsakes, including her children's. I would have thought that Victoria would have had more to say about that. Oh, Diana, Y&R hasn't mentioned it, and so I kind of forgot about it. That's right, Jordan burned Victoria's beautiful house to the ground. Oh my goodness. Well, okay, so that brings up a couple more points. You're right. I mean, the fact that the showdown was now happening at Victoria's backup house, the house she had to move into after the fire, that should have been caught by someone, and Victoria should have had that moment. Also, by the way, where's Cole? I mean, he's off meeting with some people to decide if he's going to take Victor's job offer. But dang, when he gets back and finds out that his aunt, Cole's the connection here. Why wasn't Cole at least maybe involved in the scenes with Victor and Chance and Nick? I can see he obviously would have tried to convince the ladies to not go through with the murder plot, so we wouldn't have wanted him there. But Cole really kind of got brushed to the side on this story when he really should have been the one one of the ones front and center. It's his relative. What's he gonna say? Gary says, well, my head's spinning, so I'll just cut to a non sequitur and saying, I'm sorry, but Tessa is a weakling. But rather than Mariah let her run off with Daniel, she should just forgive the Ian betrayal, chalking it up to Tessa's kind heart and innate belief in her fellow man. Chatters will point up the devious, crimey Tessa of her earliest days, but in spirit, I think that's pretty much forgotten. You know, you're right, Gary. Tessa's early, schemy days are almost as forgotten as Victoria's house fire. Nobody thinks of Tessa in that way anymore. It's been so long, and Y&R never brings it up. If Y&R doesn't bring it up and reinforce it, I forget. Sherrod says, I can see Tessa's need to believe Ian. She's correct. Her and Mariah did some not so great things, and they were forgiven. Also, I believe seeing how angry Mariah got frightened Tessa. And in her defense, Mariah didn't tell her everything that happened with Ian. But regardless of that fact, this was not the appropriate time to be advocating for Ian. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. Tessa really should have brought that up at a different time. I thought it was interesting the way Mariah kept repeating, you had to be heard. You had to be heard. That felt very real. That felt like something somebody would say. I liked that moment. It contextualized it for me. Both Mariah and Tessa's motivations make complete sense to me. I really like this part of the story. I wish there would have been more of it. Naomi says, I'm surprised that Sharon sat around, even just briefly, in her sequin gown. Get her a hot shower and a velour lounge set. Yes, Naomi. Yes. I'm disgusted at the fact that she sat down in that on her couch. Like, ew. The first thing I would have done was to want to get that off, like, strip that disgustingness off of me. I would not want to sit on my couch with it. I mean, I'll take a bath later. No. Get me to the bath now. Victoria says, the most shocking thing to me was not getting checked out by a professional. Who knows what viral mixture was down there? Ooh. Well, she said she'd do it in the morning. Same as Tessa never got checked out when she passed out, had her asthma, quote unquote, asthma attack. And Sharon's like, yeah, I'll do it in the morning. Actually, that I can relate to, because I would be like, no, I just want a bath and in my bed. Russell says, Sharon has been missing for 22 days, most of which she has been chained to a pipe in the Faith Newman commemorative sewer, surviving on 4 bags of lunchbox chips and PCP water. She has to have lost as much weight as Nikki by now. After 4 real-world days, she finally woke to see glowing Nick, who's giving her great advice. It's up to you and you alone to get out of this hellhole. Yeah, I was just like, I was not invested in the whole pep talk, Sharon stumbling to freedom. It was not particularly exciting to me. Like the rest of you, I was just thinking about how gross I would feel if I was in her unfortunate shoes. Well, I have to say, I'm going to end on this with Kamna. She says, the funny thing about soap opera time is that it's actually still the day or two after New Year's Eve in Genoa City. How about that? I mean, that's a really good observation. Russell went in and did the calculation that it's been 22 days since Sharon was kidnapped. But then Kamna mentioned, you know what? It's still the day after or two in Genoa City. It's like, wow. Who knew? Right now, 22 days in our world has been equal to only, what, 2-3 days tops in Genoa City? Okay, everybody. That's a chat. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go to yrchat.com to leave your comments. And, oh, speaking of fires, feel free to warm your hands over the ranch fire special Y&R Chat flashback episode at genoacitysoap.com. And come back here next week. We will find out what happens as Ian Ward dies. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I love you guys. I hope you have a really good week.